Let's go over a few tips for using touch-up paint on your iron or aluminum fence after installation. Hey everyone, Jason from Iron Fence Shop. Whether you purchased our Stronghold Iron or Infinity aluminum fence, chances are you have some spots to touch up after finishing the project. Between shipping, unloading, cutting, and installing, chances are you're going to have a few small spots to address to get your fence looking its best. So today I wanted to go over a few tips and techniques on how to touch up the fence with the spray paint we provide. Now you may be thinking to yourself, it's a can of spray paint, point and shoot, what technique's involved? While you could just take the can and spray away, 9 times out of 10 that's not going to give you the results you want. Most of the spots you're touching up are going to be very small. A nick here, a rub mark there. Spots that are very small and in contained areas. What we recommend is spraying the paint into a container and dabbing it on with a small brush or Q-tip. Let's grab some materials and I'll show you why we recommend that. Here's a couple examples of why we recommend a more controlled approach to doing your fence touch-up. This example here is the biggest problem with using the spray nozzle: paint runs. You can get caught off guard by how quickly the paint comes out of the can. Spray too close to the piece or do one pass too many and you get these paint dribbles or runs. These look terrible and make a small touch-up now stand out like a sore thumb. Even if you catch it in time and wipe it off, you'll typically have smears of residual paint like this down here, especially if it's hot and sunny out when applying the paint. This next example is you're typically only touching up a small spot, but the spray nozzle is going to cover a much larger area, making it more noticeable. This little red dot in the middle is an example of a spot that needs touched up. I did my best to give a short, controlled burst of paint from 6 to 8 inches away, and look how much paint is sprayed and spattered around the actual red spot I'm trying to touch up. This is even more evident when trying to touch up a long scratch mark like this blue line down here in this example. In most instances, the spots you're trying to touch up are going to be even smaller than these examples here. This was as small as I could make the examples and have them still show up on camera. You'll also see it leaves this light halo of dried paint propellant around an otherwise small repair spot. That light paint halo from the propellant will also dry into the surface and be really noticeable when the sun hits it. So if you aren't using the spray function, what do we recommend? A simple Q-tip? Or a cheap artist brush like this that you can get any place like Walmart or Amazon. You can use the cap of the spray can or any type of a disposal container like this paper bowl. You don't need to put a lot in the container as it'll dry pretty quickly. Just get enough in there so there's some paint to dab your brush or Q-tip in. With my paint in the container, I can now take my brush, dab some paint onto the tip and make a very small spot next to our example here. Taking my Q-tip, I can do the same for a larger spot with more paint. Look how much smaller the spots using the paintbrush and Q-tip are. You want to start with small dabs like this. Don't try and glop a ton of paint on the tips and end up with a run. So instead of a giant paint mark with halos around them like these two here, we now have two very small spots that both disappear from sight the moment you move away from it. For 95% of your touch-ups, these small little spots are going to be the way to go. Now that's not to say there won't be instances where you could use the spray can functionality. If you have a very long and or larger scratch or damage spot, it may be better to use the spray function. If it's an isolated part like a post cap, gate frame cap, or a long area of a picket or post, you can tape off the area around it and spray the entire part so it blends in better. Here's an example of a longer piece you may need to touch up and 2 techniques you want to follow when painting longer and larger areas of a piece. First, use smooth and controlled motions. Start outside of the piece and spray all the way past the end of it like this. This keeps a consistent layer of paint hitting the piece as you pass over it. Second, it's always better to do multiple light coats rather than heavier ones. Don't try to rush things and try and put a ton of paint on at once and end up with runs. The outcome will be much cleaner with several lighter applications that you let dry rather than trying to do it all at once in one big heavy shot. Lastly, when you're done using your paint can, be sure to clear the line and wipe the nozzle so it doesn't dry and gum up, making it unusable in the future. Invert the can like this and spray until it runs clear to clean out the line. Wipe off the nozzle face, put the cap back on, and store it in a cool, dry place for future use. So there's some paint touch-up tips for your iron or aluminum fence. Be sure to check us out here at ironfenceshop.com. Want some more information on affixing the post caps with the provided adhesive? Check out this video we did. If you have any other questions, you can shoot us an email at sales@ironfenceshop.com or give us a call at 800-261-2729. We look forward to hearing from you.